I go back and forth on how I identify. It always feels like I'm intruding or performing or faking it, no matter which identity or combination of identities I choose. Sometimes I feel like I should just give up. I feel most at home with my immediate family, my mom, my dad, and my brother, and my cousin Jasmine. To give you a little background on why I'm so confused on how I identify, let me just give you some background of my family. My dad's name is Eric Luna. My dad grew up in Pueblo, Colorado with 8 siblings and the population there being 50% Hispanic. His childhood was full of diversity and great Mexican-American influencers, from his artist mother and my grandpa, Daniel Luna, who was the first Hispanic man to win the Colorado Tennis Open, who was also incredibly involved in politics in Colorado. My grandpa never wanted my dad to grow up speaking Spanish because as a young man, my grandpa was often punished for it. But my large Luna family is full of incredible artists, business owners, and tennis fanatics. Despite growing up around so many big Latino and Latina influencers in my life, I always felt really disconnected from them. My skin is fairly white. I don't speak any Spanish whatsoever, and the only thing truly connecting me to the rest of my family was the beautiful artwork and businesses that hang up and are shown all around my home. My mom's name is Mira Morton Luna, and she is a pretty awesome woman. She is adopted from Bolivia and grew up most of her life in Littleton, Colorado, which is about 75% white. She was adopted into a white family by my grandmother, and within that family there are multiple divorces and multiple families. I spend the most time with my mother's family, especially my grandparents, my grandma, and my grandfather. Growing up, my mom was the only Latina in her friend group. Most of her friends were blonde and blue-eyed. However, my mom minored in Spanish and always visited Bolivia and lived part of her years in Argentina. She always was really in touch with who she was, her background, and her culture, no matter who she surrounded herself with, and that was something she really tried to push on me. However, most of my influences and family members I was around were mostly white. Do you think our family is a typical Mexican-American family?
I don't know exactly what defines typical. I think we're very unique and complex because we have my family, which is Latino and Native American, and then my wife's family, which is mostly white folks, and there are many different layers of her family because of 3 or 4 marriages that her mom had. So my wife grew up with 3 or 4 different families that are very different and complex. And yes, we have a very interesting family because I have brothers who are artists, and I have a father who was very politically involved, and so that makes for an interesting and fun-filled family life.
One thing I want to touch on too is me, my brother, my mom, we are mostly pretty light-skinned people. Even my best friend, who is Mexican-American, her name is Carmen, was also very similar to me, very, very light-skinned. So this is where things start to get a little confusing. I spent most of my childhood and high school life in Golden, Colorado, which is 83% white. Every part of everything I was a part of, student council, swim team, just my friends in general, had beautiful porcelain skin and were all white folks. I didn't ever feel out of place by any means, but in turn I felt as if I was unconsciously assimilating into a culture that was not a culture at all, if that even makes sense. The perceptions of who I was and what my identity was changed as the people I was around's appearances changed. I explain my race and I break it down into bite-sized pieces for people the same way I give directions to someone who is lost, but I am also a little lost. I dissect it, I minimize it, I make it into an easy digest answer for my identity. These consistent explanations And this never-ending need to prove myself as a Latina usually confuses me, and I don't have an answer for how I became a certain color or where I'm really from. But I do know that it is love that makes me who I am, and no matter the race or ethnicity of the people who I cherish most, they are all a part of who I am. And here's the thing, race is fake like money is fake, which means it's real and can dramatically impact your life. But it is a construct nonetheless, something humans built. You can search and search for some sort of biological, essential truth to your identity, and no matter how hard you look, all you will ever find is ideology. I said I feel uncomfortable sometimes because I feel as if I'm performing an identity, but performance is a lot about what identity is.